I need help and we might need help, and now it's all about me. Feel like there is a plethora of folks who idle high.
In these moments of self, the better you or the best you will show up in your life.
On my emotional journey. And so if I think about what my emotional armor was then to what it is now, I would say earlier in my career, I was not an authentic leader.
Even with some of the most senior leaders, they struggle with being authentic leaders because they struggle being authentic people.
When mom allows her son to grow up and be a boy without putting on aggression, we're finding that the male is more confident and more successful, relationships last longer. When I was suicidal, I was at the point of, if you don't show up now, I'm going to kill myself.
Welcome to Beauty and the Beast, where we create a safe haven for Black men to engage in deep conversations and share their journeys in a judgment-free space.
In each episode, we dive into topics that matter. This is a space where your story is valued, your voice is heard, and your journey is shared with others who, like you, may feel alone in the world. Let's break the myth that Black men are beasts.
Welcome to Beauty and the Beast. Let's start the conversation. Shit we doing. Oh, okay. Y'all don't, you don't want to start with me, right? Y'all know y'all don't want to start with me. You won't be my friend by the end of this shit, man.
Listen, all of them high school tales. We came from the same training grounds, bro.
Oh, really?
I'm
telling you, you don't want to start with
training
me.
grounds.
I'm telling you don't want to start with me, but it's all good. It's all good. Brother, thank you for being here. Really appreciate you
Absolutely.
bringing your professional flair to this conversation. Michael Turner, licensed therapist, and all the things. I'll let you talk about yourself in a minute.
Okay.
We typically, so this is the second time we're doing this. We've got a licensed therapist on, and what we like to do is to help our audience to unpack some of the themes from the previous season. And so that's why, for us, we wanted to bring people on who can help give a professional's opinion to those themes. We don't necessarily have to talk specifically about, those folks. But anyway, so tell us a little bit about yourself before we delve deep.
Oh, wow. Okay. Well, Michael Turner, again, licensed professional counselor in the state of Georgia and in Florida. Credentialed in clinical hypnotherapy, dialectical behavioral therapy, trauma-focused therapy, and just depending, when someone sees this, I'll be nationally board certified counselor. So, I'm excited about that. I find myself in the top 10% being a Black male in this field. I've been called a unicorn several times. I'm from Chicago, so the first time I heard someone call me a unicorn, we had to have a conversation about what they were trying to tell me, respectfully speaking.
Yeah.
So just understand, like, oh, you're a Black male therapist and you're licensed. You don't exist. You're a unicorn. You don't exist. Yeah. But definitely glad to be in the profession. Glad to be doing this. And this is what it's all about, lowering the stigma and having the conversation.
So we kind of just brushed over this thing. And for the audience, yes, this was my therapist. He's now my life coach. I want to make sure we get that right.
Absolutely.
So we're not breaking any.
Thank you to the board.
Yes, exactly. But you just glossed over the fact that you said hypnotherapy, right? So I remember coming across your profile on Psychology Today and seeing that. And so I was just like, well, we won't do that, but we'll do all the other stuff that he's licensing, because I don't know about this hypnotherapy. So can you speak a few minutes about that, and I'll tell you about my personal experience related to it?
Absolutely. I love it. Coming into Atlanta, I was recruited from the best HBCU in the world, Alabama A&M University. I'm going to just pause because there's a lot of FAMU people who think because they're FAM or Florida that they're special. No. Not even close, but Alabama A&M University. But I came to Atlanta, recruited out of my master's program to do trauma work. Yeah. The trafficking population in Atlanta is extremely high, but most people don't know that the most people trafficked are actually males. They think it's the female population just given the crime. Think about the water boys. It's like Monday, 10 a.m. and you keep your window up, you're like, man, get away from my window. Yeah. You're not thinking, oh, it's Monday, 10 a.m. Why aren't you in class? We're not thinking things like that. So I came in for that and just started working with different court systems and all of that. And I was like, there has to be something deeper than just let's talk. They need something more than that. Found out about trauma-focused CBT and just how it kind of starts to address how the body holds on to some of the traumas and releases it. Then that's when I did some more research and I found out about DBT, or dialectical behavioral therapy. That was another one where it's like, this is great, but true DBT work takes over a year and it's weekly. Now, when I tell somebody that in the first session, no one's like, oh, yes, sign me up for that. A year long? Love it. So I'm like, okay, I can still have that, but what can I get that would be a little bit, I don't want to say faster, but not as long. Then I learned about clinical hypnotherapy. And believe it or not, I never had a cup stirring tea talking about no.
You wasn't taking people to the sunken place.
Excuse me, that just was not happening, anything of that nature. But it really is therapy for the subconscious part, or the second part, that's the hypno part of the brain. The subconscious governs all of our bodily functions. So I'm just teaching the subconscious part of the brain to work together with your conscious decision making for your goal. So let's say we have anxiety and panic attacks because, like this, you're about to do a podcast or speak publicly. Your body has learned when certain triggers happen, now I'm going to respond and everything's up. Hypnotherapy gives the subconscious a script. It's literally the same thing, that when the conscious mind grabs a hold of it with the suggestion, the mind and body work together so that now you don't even think about, I'm about to have the podcast, normally I'm triggered. Just like we're not thinking about blinking, yet we've done that 52 times already. True. That's how someone can be brain dead and still alive. Still functioning, I'll say it that way, because of that component. So it's just a full-on synopsis. And once I finally can explain that to people, especially, us, and even that it started in Africa, the true history of this particular therapy, which started in Africa, is just like, if we're really going to talk about something being for us, then let's start here before we go to the Anglo-Saxon, European, Freud, and all of that with therapy. But again, once after that first session, people just like, I don't even say the word trance because that's like don't want to lose it. Right. But I just it's a deep relaxation. Once I get you there, I promise you want to stay there as long as you possibly can. You don't want to go anywhere. I encourage take a nap afterwards. You want to take the day off, just enjoy it, because a lot of times just your body is just so used to going that now you take it back to that what's the word I'm looking for? That kind of like a state of being that baby inside the womb, where it's just like, okay, I'm safe, it's quiet, it's soft, I'm relaxed, boom.
I'll tell you, dude, like it probably took 3 sessions for me to actually like really allow myself to fully go there. First of all, I damn near didn't come out. Like he was just like, I count my fingers, blah, blah, blah. And I'm sitting there, I'm still like, so he had to do it again. And I like come out. And I will tell you, that night, I had the best sleep of my life.
I remember you telling me.
Of my life. Like I have never, even since then, I haven't ever slept that hard. Like I was just like, and I think I slept for like 12 hours. It was the craziest thing, man.
I don't remember if it was because you were so exhausted or you just felt so light.
Oh, I felt so light. Yeah. Like literally coming out of that session, I was just tired. Like for the rest of the day. So he was like, yeah, you might be a little tired the rest of the day. You might, if you got to go back to work, cool. But just know you're going to be low energy for the rest of the day. And and I was.
And what creates that low energy swing?
Well, it depends on the individual.
Yeah.
Again, if you're like a high-performing individual, if you're used to just, whether you're an athlete or in a very demanding corporate world, you're used to going. So now your muscles are like, oh, we get a break? Yeah. We're good. And it's literally the body and the brain saying, well, I'm used to doing this, but the body's like, but now I'm here.
Yeah.
I tell them, don't crack your knuckles. Don't try to alert your body. Leave that alone. This is the state that your body needs. Let it happen. Let the body win.
Yeah. So, all right. So I wanted to make sure, the audience understood what we were talking about. So when we talk about therapy, they understand it's not, one leg up just dancing, it's just like
Correct. And
it's a
yeah.
state of relaxation. So we've gotten that out of the way. Where I want to go next is to start talking about some of the themes, right, from the previous season. Previous season. And where I want to start the conversation is emotional armor, the pros and cons of that, right? So, you probably are making some assumptions about what that is, and you're probably right. One of our guests talked about the fact that, he gave me the language of volume control, and volume control being turning up and down different facets of their personality depending on the environment that they were in, right? And to me, I got it. It makes sense. I know that analogy makes sense to me. I actually like that analogy. I like that better than saying wearing a mask, right?
Okay.
But at the end of the day, it's still putting on an emotional armor, right? That you in some cases you might be protecting yourself, in other you're just saying this is just who I need to be and I'm comfortable with it. So we'd love to get your opinion on that this whole notion of emotional armor in whatever setting. It could be corporate America, personal, private, whatever.
Got you. I always give a disclaimer in the panel when I'm speaking that it's for the sake of knowledge or information, not knowing who's going to be coming on after me. So don't take this and apply it to someone else.
Right.
But when I hear that, the first thing I'm going to is like, okay, emotional baggage. A lot of times we have felt something or something has happened that now we have to either come on the attack or do something in defense so that that thing won't happen again. I do like the coin, kind of like the coin flip with it being an armor. But it's also just like, when you think about armor and what's about to happen, an attack or what you're about to be around, something has to be protected. Okay, if something has to be protected, then something has happened. That's where I go to first. I do like that though. Black men life be lifing. So many a times with that, it helps to, in my mind, in the corporate world and even in church settings or wherever with family, it definitely helps to make sure that we have an emotional regulation or an emotional intelligence about ourselves as well. So that when I'm assuming with the nodules, like everybody doesn't get me like at 10. Sometimes it could just be a 2 or 3. Sometimes I don't have to yell. I can just, lower my voice and speak a little bit deeper to get the point across. Am I doing a presentation with some of our, Wahite tribes? The Wahite tribe. If y'all don't know the Wahite tribe, I might need to change things up just a little bit just so I don't come off as aggressive. Me personally, I don't mind if I come off as offensive because I don't know what offends you, but I will more so like be more mindful of, am I coming off aggressively? That would be my only change. But that definitely sounds like an amazing construct and a great concept, and it definitely happens. There's no ands, if, or buts about it.
Right.
No, I think that as you were saying that, what came up for me was, I'm curious what your take on is as to when that armor serves you versus when that armor hurts you or limits you. Like, and how does an individual go about understanding when to show up with the armor or when to take it off?
Right. So that, to me, I'm thinking that goes a lot with the environment that you allow yourself to be in and the people you allow yourself to be around. Like even right now, in my head, my analogy would be that my armor is off. Like we're having a good conversation. I'm vulnerable. I can have these moments.
You're safe here.
Exactly. And exactly. I even like that. I'll take it a step further. It's okay to be weak. Not only am I safe, but I can have a weak moment and be quite all right. It's, forgive me, I'm a therapist. I just had an aha moment. I think it's a lot of times where maybe in an insecure moment or a place of weakness, that armor may need to come with us so that we can feel strong and be protected in that area of whatever it is. Yeah.
So let's juxtapose that with authentic leadership, right? So when we talk about our armor, right, it's funny because I use the term mask. And, you and I have had lots of conversations about me and my personal experience and having a nervous breakdown and all these things that happen for me on my emotional journey. And so if I think about what my emotional armor was then to what it is now, I would say earlier in my career, I was not an authentic leader. Right?
Yeah.
And one of the things that I have begun to see in the past 3 to 4 years is those of us who make it to the upper echelons of corporate America are extremely comfortable in their skin. And I wasn't always that. So what can you say to people in the audience as it relates to, one, what does that look like? And two, how do you get comfortable in your skin?
So we had a conversation before I sat here today, and I'm just, I'm gonna break the mold of being your the former therapist.
yeah.
I'm just like, HIPAA lawsuit, but no.
I'm not suing you.
I understand that. Appreciate that. Y'all heard that here.
Yeah,
okay.
I'm not suing you.
Your shoe game, if I remember quite correctly.
Where are we going with this? Okay.
Well,
all right,
exactly.
Go ahead.
No, I'm
It's
saying
all good.
because you said
yes.
authentic leadership.
Yes, go for it.
So someone who is authentic will find a way to present themselves authentically. It doesn't have to be a conversation. I don't have to come in strong, but I don't know if everybody who's not been paying attention, go back to all the episodes and look at his shoes. That just didn't start, with the podcast. That's been going on since your 70s too. Ever since 1853 when he's about, 15 years old.
Really? This what we doing?
Right.
Wow. Okay. All right.
You said you weren't suing. I'm just giving everything. I'm just giving everything.
Keep going.
But even with that, we have different ways of, showing up in our authentic selves. It could be something like an earring, a brooch, whatever, something of significance. That is authentically you. You have purchased that. You have obtained that. It could be a tattoo. It could be whatever it is, a hair color, a hair dye. That's representation of yourself.
For sure.
And again, it doesn't always have to be a speech or, let me do it right. My mom, former Black Panther. So it's like, no, fully up. Not that's, but all of that. Yeah. And you definitely, that's what I instantly went back to. I'm like, no. There was definitely, your authentic self was showing up and talk to me.
You right. However, at the point that I'm talking about, when I was an authentic leader, this came up on another podcast.
Okay.
I was hard bottom shoes. I was Mr. Dress Up, Mr. Right. So that's where I was then.
Suspenders, the whole
okay, audience. Let me just.
I'm learning about
this
that
right
one.
now. No suspenders, but they coming after Kyle. So when I come after them, I don't want to hear no shit. But anyway, I'm sorry.
Safe place.
So
Safe
place.
Gotcha.
Lost my thought. So I know where I was going. So no, not suspenders. But what I really want you to talk to, so it's less about me. And yes, that's where I was, right? But I think there's so many other young men,
right,
that are in that place where I was, where I was being someone I thought I needed to be to fit the mold on what I thought to get to that corner office, which I know now I don't want that shit. Right. So talk to those folks who haven't really figured out the volume control, but it's like you either get nothing or you get it all.
That is great. And sometimes it feels that way, where it's like it's nothing, and all of a sudden then I have all these things around me, I have all these accomplishments. I'll talk about just myself in this field of therapy. It is predominantly female-based. So you have a male who's coming into a female-based industry where, do I hold the door open because I'm being chivalrous and that's what I was told to do? Or do I let you, an equal and a peer or my superior, open the door for yourself? Something like that. Now, believe it or not, I bring that up as an example because I ran into a situation like that where it's just like, oh no, I got it. I'm just like, okay. I was just trying to be me. I had to understand at that point, whatever I wanted to do within my career, it's okay if this first door or this first company or this first spot does what it needs to do to serve its purpose in my life for now, as I'm continuing to go where I need to go and go where I need to be. When I think about just authentic leadership, I think about the journey of that leader to get to that point where now people want to follow them. Because even to that last component of it all, with leadership, who's following you? Like, what does that crowd look like? Who do you draw? Are you aware of your draw?
Right.
Are you aware of the audiences that you have? Even if you don't speak and walk into a room, they're just like, oh, Kyle's here. Be okay if the first 2 rooms aren't that for you
Mm-hmm.
until you find it. I think that's something like they don't teach that in school, of like it's okay to keep going until you find the right location, till
Yeah.
you find the right job, till you find the right company, let alone entrepreneurship. I mean, I'm sure that's a class now, but not back like when we were in school.
No.
Not right,
Right.
So it's like, let alone if you have great ideas and even think about that. I think about someone like Bill Gates, who just left the school system altogether and dropped out, and now now we know Microsoft and everything else. So it really just having that mindset, that confidence, that self-esteem to push through and understand that the first few rooms may not be the room for you. You may need to create your room or keep going to find the room that works for you. And when you find that room that works for you, like it works for you, they want you to be there. They're glad you're there. They want to keep you there. You can threaten even to leave to, try to help that money increase. I encourage people all the time, especially as therapists, don't accept the first offer. If they want you, they want you. Your resume is your resume, build, grow, and all of that. So, yeah.
Yeah, it's interesting, bro. As you unpack that, I think about work that I do, that Kyle may have shared with you in executive coaching, and how even with some of the most senior leaders that I speak with, like they struggle with being authentic leaders because they struggle being authentic people.
Mm.
They struggle with a level of self-awareness, right? And it spills over really from their personal into their professional lives. And so I'm always amazed whenever I have conversations with people like that, with them, how were you able to even ascend this far with what you're clearly carrying, right? With your communication style or your leadership style that really doesn't channel even who the person is that you're demonstrating to me right now in the comfort of this space.
What's funny is you talked about how the authenticity will find its way out. I got into a disagreement, is what I'll call it, with my boss at the time, because I was wearing Jordans at work. And now everybody's wearing sneakers, so I think I was pushing the envelope a little bit, but nothing crazy. Like I remember seeing the chairman. Of course, he was of the, what do you call it, the white t-shirt.
Why he take?
Yeah. And he was wearing OCs back then. This is years ago, or on clouds, blah 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 blah. Anyway, I have a meeting with the legal department. Now, mind you, I'm wearing 11s with the patent leather, and they're all black, so you can't really see it. He sees me down the hall, right? And so this is me. I'm finding a way to step into who I am, and so I'm like, yeah, this is me. I've got on a button-up shirt, but I got these Jordans on, right? And I'm also saying this is a way to also show the younger generation that it's okay to be who you are.
Right.
Well, he sees me down the hall, and I mean the entire hall, and he loses his shit because he knows I have a meeting with the legal department. And in his mind, I should know I shouldn't show up in a meeting with legal with Jordan 11s on. And I'm like, I'm walking around the office, and there's not a problem until I have a meeting with legal.
Right. Is
this what we're doing? This is what we are. And now, mind you, he black. So I was just blown away. He was upset. It wasn't like, no, Kyle, you wow. Dude was like hot under the collar. And that was challenging my authenticity, because I'm just now getting comfortable with, this is who I am, and this is who I want to represent myself to be. But I'm sorry, you were going to say something?
No, I'm glad we got you here to qualify and clarify, but it feels like that was his trauma, not yours.
Absolutely.
Right?
I know that now.
Yeah.
Absolutely. But I bring that up just so people understand that even though it feels good to be who you are, not everybody's going to accept that.
Absolutely.
And to your point about finding the room where you are wanted, well, that not long after that, probably a year or two, I was gone after that. So I was just like, this is not the place for me. But it's just interesting that our own people will attack us for trying to be who we are. And this is another thing that came up that just hit me. Actually from season 1 that we talked about it with Dr. Tori, is this mentality which I'm taking as a completely different direction. But right? So the notion of black people are not a monolith, which is true. So
Right.
it's not a notion; it's a true thing, right?
Sure.
However, people who reach a certain level of success, especially those who are in the public eye as it relates to success, not necessarily famous, but people you would say, "Oh, you got this job at this big company." Those folks, one, what I found, are very, very comfortable in their skin, but also two, they not like us. Like how they present themselves, how they come across, like me. And when I say like us, I'm being very facetious and I'm being very general.
Right.
But I find that people then say, "Oh, black people are not a monolith." But then when you see those folks, they're like, "But they're not black."
Yeah.
I'm just, that confuses me. Like from a professional standpoint, what are your thoughts on that?
Wow, man, that's a lot. I went all the way back to master-slave relationship.
Yes, sir.
You know, like really, if that's what we're going to do about the whole they're not black, you know, they act white. I was in college prep courses in high school, and you know, it was just I was blown away by like how I'm not black enough over here, but literally just had the Klan, you know, interactions with the Klan, interactions with police dogs because they felt that my family did not belong at the hotel we were staying in. We were going to like a camp meeting, you know, as devout Christians, we go to camp meeting type, you know. Almost cussed, but like type shit. Sorry, Mom. But yeah, and then all of a sudden, like to go through that and have a police dog brought into the pool and all this stuff. I'm like, so I'm dealing with being really black, like that word black.
Right.
But then on the educational side of things, I'm acting white or I'm talking white. Forget, you know, adequate grammar or proper grammar and things of that nature. It's so for me, I've always kind of yield that. If I'm going to go in deep for today, I've always yield because I'm like I've actually experienced certain things that people who were in the 50s and 60s in America went through regularly. You know, I don't want to say I was privileged to experience that, but like it happened to me. So I've seen what it is like. I have an understanding. My father was born in the 40s. So we want to talk about even that whole concept to now where we are in 2025 and him still being alive and dealing with different things. Man, I couldn't even wear jeans to certain places because that's just not what we're going to do, Michael. We're going to have our nice button up, our nice Oxfords, nice Brooks Brothers, all of that presenting. And now we come into scenes and places where you can go into a board meeting with a t-shirt, nice jeans. You know, vernaculars are changing. It's not as much code switching depending on where we are.
Yeah.
Depending.
Right.
It still happens.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
100%.
Absolutely.
So it's just now it's just like, wow. The back then to now to, you mentioned black, but in my head, I'm like, well, there are black people. And then there are those who identify as black.
Right.
Even that component of not identified, like, what does that mean?
Yes.
Right. You know?
Yeah, like you identify as black, but you get to not be black when you don't have to be or don't want to be. Right. Yeah.
That part, you know, everybody wants to be that word until it's time to be that word.
Yeah.
You know. So, man, I hate that it's still something that is definitely still around. And even in HBCU cultures, you may have those pushing a little bit harder and moving, you know, who get typecast to be like the, you know, talented 10th for educational phrases and history of it all. And then you have, you know, the regulars. You still have the jocks. You still have the C's get degrees. Praise God for that, you know. And, you know, all of that good stuff. But it's at the same time, it's like, okay, let's keep that drive. Let's keep pushing. I think it just shows up on the education side of things of something was afforded to maybe more of this population than another. And a lot of times we don't know how to deal with that as a culture. We have not been taught to share this experience and to celebrate it. There's always the one or the two, like type of cousin, or you're the one that makes it, not like, and the family will do this, and the family will do that. The family will come and turn up and have a great time, you know, at that graduation for the one. But when we can start celebrating the culture of education, and I mean literally the culture of education, and we can start celebrating each other and mean it. You know, the whole they not like us, we can definitely step away from that. But, you know, when I moved to Atlanta, there's like this saying of, okay, our cousins are here, but, you know, where's that one? Where are the doctors? Where are the lawyers hanging out? Like us.
You're right.
Like, where are we? And I'm just like, oh, okay. Then I started sending myself, and I'm like, oh, we are here. You know, a little bit nervous, you know, to me, I'm still like, if it ain't hood, it ain't good. But some people are like, nah, Mike, we ain't going with you over there. But I'm just like, nah, that's what it is. I think a lot of times people think as we go up, as we ascend, as we get more education, we're going to forget about
Gotta
where
leave
we
that
started.
behind.
Right. We're going to forget about that.
It's funny because that's another topic that came up last time. It's like people, and I know I feel this way, like we can't go home again.
Mm,
Right? Like,
right.
so,
Wow.
you know, you not necessarily, and just to give you context, like the neighborhood I grew up in, I ain't going back.
Gotcha.
I actually took my kids, this is years ago, probably 10 plus years ago, and we were driving through the neighborhood, and I was like, oh, this is why, and then is this, and this, and I was like, we got to go. We got to go. Got to go. And I never went back. I was just like, because I don't belong here anymore.
Yeah. And it feels different. Like a natural feels like internally it feels different. Sometimes when I go back home and I see some of my friends, I'm just like, I see that they're trapped. And it's like, it's a real trap. It's a real stuck. I remember when I graduated with my first degree and went back home, my aunt pulled me aside and she was just like, you know, I watched you all 4 years and I thought you like wouldn't talk to us anymore. I thought you would treat us differently. I was like, me? Like, yeah, you're first male to go off.
Yeah.
So they just, you know, she had that assumption we was going to watch him, and you know, this could be him leaving and never coming back. I didn't even have that thought in my mind.
Yeah.
But that generation and just the mindset of it all was just like, to your point, you left, you done what you needed to do.
Why you be here?
Pretty much. Why come back? Why be here?
Yes. What's interesting for me is we've had that conversation before about our ability to go back home. And this time around, it made me start questioning what I define as home.
Yes. Yes.
Because what I can't do is go back to the projects I grew up in Miami.
Right.
Because they don't know me no more.
You almost cannot step back.
I can't step back in there without a representative now. Because they like,
Who is this?
who is this?
Yeah.
Who you with? And you don't want no problems.
Yeah.
And then I think about just Miami in general and moving around, and we've had those conversations about how it's a different social climate than here, right? Like the energy is different, and I like to describe it as, you know, Miami's one of those places like New York and maybe even Chi-Town, which is where people idle high. Whereas here, I feel like people idle a little bit lower, and that there's no immediate response of confrontation if you were to look at or speak to somebody you don't know, right? And so as it pertains to my definition of home, then I started thinking about, well, it's not the place, like, you know, I'm Miami to death, but it's not Miami really that's home. It's the people.
The people.
How do I still connect with or have disconnected with the people? And what relationships do I continue to cultivate? What relationships do I need to re-engage with to bring home closer to me again?
Yeah. So we've been talking about several topics. We've talked about authentic leadership. We've talked about emotional armor, and we just talked about essentially otherism and not being able to go back home. If you want to continue to engage in that conversation, follow us on our social channels. You can find us on YouTube. You can find us on Instagram. You can find us on TikTok. All Beauty and the Beast. Da, 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 da. Da, 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 da. So we were just having a conversation about Atlanta versus Miami and this concept of idling high. I know we talked about that. I think that was in season 1. I feel like Atlanta's starting to idle high.
Okay.
I just feel, you know, I don't know. We don't have to talk a lot about it, but it just popped into my head when you said that. It's like it's actually starting to feel like there is a plethora of folks who idle high. Because I mean, there's a lot of people who are moving out of South Florida into Atlanta, and a lot of people out of New York who are moving into Atlanta.
Absolutely.
I just feel like it's becoming more of a emotional challenge to idle low in Atlanta.
How's that hit you?
That was good because you beat me to it. And I was about to be a therapist. What does that mean to you, Tyler?
No, you get to answer questions, not ask questions.
Indeed. No, that's good. Oh, man. I can name certain parts of the city, right?
Yeah,
Oh,
sure.
okay.
Sure.
Cool. I just want to make sure. I'm just thinking about when did, Buckhead turn into Buck Hood? I don't know if you have heard the vernacular.
I've not heard the Buck Hood before, but I'm not surprised.
Yeah, I just heard that. I heard that Buckhead is the new Bankhead, is what I've heard.
Oh,
yeah.
Okay. Got you. And in my mind, I'm like, okay, well, what's different? Oh, okay, more black people.
Yeah.
Okay, now we're hood.
Yeah.
Or now this is coming here. I think I'm a little bit more siding with where Kyle is, just with the age group and where I am. There is we all have a certain pride about where we're going to come from,
Sure.
like where we come from, and especially where we're going. I think we just look at culture, music, hip hop. Atlanta was the trap, and eventually trap caught up to hip hop, New York, L.A., Chicago, and other large cities. But now I'm just like, the things that are here, the money that's here, not just Black Hollywood, but now Hollywood.
Yeah.
Now, if they had some winning teams,
Yikes.
So I'm not from here, so I'm not gonna touch that.
Where's my straight two? I'm gonna stand.
But I mean, I'm a Miami Dolphins fan, so I can't talk. So
I got you. But at least you can talk about a dynasty or a legacy. You can still do that.
Look, I'm trying to give him the benefit of the doubt. I'm just saying.
We're going to
that man said I can swim. I don't need your life raft.
I see.
Safe place. Like look at the Bulls now.
Yeah.
If they go to playoffs, that's because they purchased a ticket, like the rest of us.
Mind you, dude's from Chicago.
Yeah.
Right. So, but if I'm in a battle about it, all I have to say is one name from North Carolina, Michael Jordan, Chicago. If you watched TV ever growing up, another name, Oprah Winfrey. If you voted for a black man for president, Barack Obama. Right? People with no bodies of water. We don't have an ocean. We have a great lake. Do we say, Atlantic, Great Atlantic? Hell no.
Look, it's where I live, it's where my kids are born, so I'm not going to completely roll the bus over the place.
Well,
but
you get the point. What I'm saying,
I get it.
This is coming from a place where he needed to get his shit off.
I see.
Absolutely.
Go ahead, cook, bro.
Thank you, brother.
You're gonna see a bunch of comments about this Negro hate Atlanta. He live here. Get gone. There.
I'm glad you said that, but that is the part where I'm like, now that I've moved to Atlanta, and Atlanta is home.
I was like, where are we going? Where are you going with this? Okay.
That's what my people in Chicago are going to watch this. What did you say? Because I still go home. There are certain parts where I'm just like, okay. I live where I live in this part of Atlanta because it has a city vibe.
Yeah.
It has multiple lanes. There are high rises. There are things that I'm familiar with that I like. And I'm just going to be like, this is great. I don't talk about where I live because I don't need more people coming in that area. But it is a great spot. I love it. So I can see now careers, black professionals, black millionaires. 46, 47 is now the average of first-time millionaires in Georgia, and the number keeps going down. There's a reason behind that. Yes, there's Atlanta, and then there's Georgia, as people from Atlanta will gladly let you know.
Right.
Now, I know Atlanta's not a state. Let's just, But even to that component of people saying that about the city of Atlanta definitely indicates that they're definitely shooting higher and definitely have a higher sense of, what you say, lobbying?
He said idling.
Idling high. Yes, idling high is definitely catching up. And just, how we are, we are not going to catch up slowly. We're going to catch up rapidly. And it's definitely happening.
So, and let me be very explicit when I talk about the idling high, what I'm talking about is the level of aggression that people collectively demonstrate, right? So to be more specific, I'll give you an example. So when I'm in Miami, like I said, I don't look at people. I don't speak to people that I don't know, because that act of what I deem and in others places deem as being kind or being polite, it's not received well in Miami, in most places that I've moved around in Miami, right? I remember specifically, I was going to park at the beach one day. I had my son down there, had my parents in the back. We ready to have a good time. Parking is terrible. I saw a dude standing behind his car, and I'm like, "Hey, you about to leave that spot, bro?" And he turned to me and he said, "What? The parking spot. Are you about to leave the parking spot because I'm trying to find a place to park?" "No." Cool. Window up. That's the idling high that I'm talking
got you.
about.
And what I'm saying
Yeah.
to you is, I'm seeing that happen.
No,
here.
I understand that,
Yeah, okay,
but I just
gotcha.
wanted to make sure that he and I were
he
speaking the
understood.
same.
Right,
No,
right,
no,
gotcha,
indeed.
gotcha.
Yeah.
So much to the point where I'm like, your problem was you said bruh at the end of that, because I didn't know how to take it, bruh. That was, should have just left off that last part. He may have been more receptive to it, but no, 1,000%. I mean, just park your car somewhere.
Yeah.
And hopefully you have your windows by the time you get back.
Oh
Yeah.
Lord, yeah. All right,
Okay.
This is not a Atlanta bashing
It's not,
conversation
because we're
so-
still here. We love it. We
right,
really do.
right. Yes. How? Okay, so back on task. Back on task. So we've had several guests on the show across season 1, season 2, who have in some way or another, actually a couple of them, have lost their father at a young age or didn't have their father in their lives. And some of them figured out how to find other male figures that could be mentors in their life. Some didn't. So, this kind of like goes without saying, but I'd love to get your professional opinion on the impact that has, especially for those who've lost their fathers at a young age, who it's not like, so there is my father just wasn't around. My father passed away when I was young. So I'm talking about those that their fathers passed away at a young age. So, right, you imagine that trauma that you have dealing with that. And now I've got to grow up and figure out how to be a successful man without that male figure in my life.
Got you. So I'm going to add a third option. I'm still going to speak on what you just mentioned, but I'm going to add a third option where my father was present but did not know how to be a father.
Okay, well, that's a whole other, but yes, that is a third option.
Indeed. To that point of just father passing and having to grow up on their own, I'm going to take a different stance that's really not talked about. I don't put it on the father or even the men, let me say it that way. I don't put it on the men, the mentors, the role models. When mom allows her son to grow up and be a boy without putting on aggression, without doing too much because she feels she has to overcompensate because a male is not present. In those scenarios, we're finding that the male is more confident and more successful, relationships last longer because there was no overcompensation of aggression from mom, and their interaction stayed healthy even while he was dating. I'll give an example of that. Oftentimes on that's what I'm looking for. On a psychological level, it is hard for some single mothers to allow their male son to date because now they're letting go. They've put so much attachments onto their son that has not been checked by a man. And I don't even mean like check, like shut up, like nothing aggressive, but there's a natural energy between estrogen and testosterone where some things can be checked by each other. A balance, that's a better word. There's no balance there for in that moment to have, okay, this is leaning a little bit more onto he's never going to be the man of the house, yet we like to say that. He's still like with 16, 17, but now you're the man of the house. Where did that come from? Absolutely not. Right? So certain concepts or components are, in a successful component of what I'm talking about, certain things are established for that young man, and he doesn't have to go through a jealousy or a fear of now this man is leaving me. And a lot of times we will see that a young man who had a single mom household, even while married, now has to go back and forth, just depending on how the relationship was, with being a good son for mom or being a good husband for my wife. And then oftentimes, wife and mom are now battling because they're after the son. I see that more in my line of work. And I've seen that more in my line of work, just again, talking about traumas and victims of traumas being males. I've seen that quite often. And even in my stance of being a therapist, no, I'm not your son's mentor. I'm a therapist.
Yeah.
I'm going to stay in that lane of being a therapist. When Black men who are secure with themselves take on the role of mentorship,
Yeah.
there's a difference of being a mentorship and then also being an adoptive father. Where are your boundaries? Because if you're going to now mentor without a boundary, you're not giving, that's what I'm looking for. You can give false hope and false pretenses for that young man. I'm learning from you something. What are you mentoring me to learn from you? What are you modeling for me that I'm supposed to be learning in this moment? Mentor. You mentioned being an executive coach.
Yeah.
Right. So in my mind, what that would look like would be something totally different from someone who's here to just help you talk on like emotions.
Sure.
Right. So knowing that you have that mindset of this, what I'm going to do, this, how I'm going to do it. There are boundaries set up, and someone's coming to you, even with young people, they love structure. May not look like it, but children respond to structure. When we have our family therapy sessions, the first thing we're looking at is the structure of the home, what's there, how are the children responding to it. So again, even if we flip the script and dad's all the way there and mom is not, where are we learning about yielding? What are we learning about emotional intelligence? How are we learning about dating and things of that nature? So it is very, I'm trying not to go into criminology and then all of the other stereotypes that come about with just, not a father being present. But
Which
even,
is a stereotype.
1,000%, which is very interesting because like the stat that people don't want to talk about is that a child or a student in a single household that is male is more likely to graduate and go off to college. Right. We don't talk about that
I
one.
didn't realize it.
Indeed. That's the actual real stat. But again, sometimes we get so caught up in the culture of what we see on TV or what's around us that sometimes we just think our perception is the reality that's going around. It's just like, oh, wow, that's crazy.
Dude, you hit me with so much stuff. And
I was trying not to ramble. I was trying to.
No.
Okay.
No, dude, you went to a couple places that I did not. But there was something in there. You talked several times about boundaries.
Yeah.
And establishing boundaries, right? So what is, how, in a Black man's life, how important is it for them to set boundaries for themselves?
Extremely important, man. Extremely important. 1,000%. Not just boundaries and standards need to be at the same level for a Black man now.
Okay, say more.
What's the difference?
Yeah.
So indeed, now we've all been on social media. Now, when I first heard about this macaroni grill first date, I thought it was like, oh, this is funny. Okay, she was mad because she got taken to macaroni grill, but like, no, this is a real thing. Like there is like, I just met you. I don't know. I don't even know your last name, even if you have a middle name, and I'm supposed to bring out all my debit cards, all my ATM cards, my credit cards on our first date. Absolutely not. My standard, because of self-esteem, because of my confidence level, I know what I deserve and what I'm looking for. Both people should come to the first date with that. Not just the man chasing after the woman who knows what she wants. Both people should have that conversation. Now, because I have a standard, that is the fuel of why I keep my boundary. Creating the boundary is the easy part. It's keeping the boundary that people struggle with. So if there's no standard to fuel it, it's either going to be an emotional response of get the fuck away from me, now I've blown up, or sometimes just isolation and we're avoiding it altogether so I don't have to put the boundary in motion. So even when I think about people in, you mentioned emotional intelligence, that's the first part. Emotion, then comes the thought, then comes the action. Most of the time when I'm hearing about emotional intelligence is in a relationship setting. That's
right.
Most of the time that I hear about it. So I'm just like, okay, it sounds like he's emotionally intelligent, but the thought is you're the manipulator. So I'm not going to give you the emotion that you want. And now my action is to either fuck you and move on, have a conversation with you after I fuck you, or, now you're mad at me and we don't fuck at all. And then, there's a terminology that came after that, fuck, nah. Right. I mean, when you look at there's a pathology across the board everywhere.
right.
Right. That's what,
Dude, you
testosterone.
keep going places I'm not expecting you to go, but
Yeah.
I'm not surprised either.
Yeah.
This
Listen,
is
that's
this
why we're
is the
here.
dynamic that you see
Indeed,
going
but no,
on.
literally, even if you're talking about that, because again, there should be the standard, which is the fuel of the boundary and what keeps it. Now, we're talking about the male perspective. I promise you, if this was flipped around and, then we talk about a female perspective, then they would get the same energy of support of like, don't have them do this, don't have them do that, just that and the third. That's what you wore. Now you're mad that just that and the other. Like, no, but this is what you asked for today. So, I'm indeed.
You're giving it.
I'm giving it, absolutely.
What's funny about, that idea of standards and boundaries that you articulated so eloquently is I can remember a time where I wasn't struggling with standards or boundaries at all. My struggle was what informed my standards and boundaries. That was where I was fucking up.
That's deep.
Right?
That's good. I'm trying not to probe and like, so what was
No problem. That's what this is about.
What was going on?
Well, because there was, I guess it could be in a nutshell summed up as a lot of toxic masculinity that was going on as it's described, in this day and age, where I had very chauvinistic views, I had very selfish views, I was very much out for finding someone that was the right fit for me, and not at all concerned about what fit I was for someone else. Yeah,
that's good.
So something just hit me. What can you say to men who get to a place who realize I need help, right? So that's the first part. Finally admit that I need help. But you have a spouse who, when you get to that help, and it's like either you're going for yourself or you're going for us. It's the marriage or relationship dynamic. And that spouse says, yeah, because he. Well, what about you? No, there's nothing wrong with me. So what can you say to people who struggle with that? Like, how do they deal with that thing when they have agreed, they've gotten to this place where, okay, I need help and we might need help, and now it's all about me, not the we.
Okay. That's a good question. My hesitation is I try to step away from hypotheticals, but I don't want to give such a real example that if someone watching, they're going to...
Yeah, right. I mean, but I'm sure that people will see themselves in what you talk about. Right?
100%. It's very quite often that is the case. Whether most of the time, I can do it this way. Most of the time, if I'm working with a male who's coming in for help, from a spouse perspective, it's either suggested that they go to couples and he does not want to, or he's going to couples, and then within couples, it's, individual would help me better to get some things off my chest. Now, I'm not going to say it the way that 97% of all my married men say it. I'm going to change the vernacular because I don't want nobody mad at y'all after this.
They can be mad if they want to.
Nope. When you hear it, you'll be like, oh, okay, but that's what they really said.
Okay, got it.
Right. They were just like, oh, man. Once I found there was a male therapist doing this, I was like, hell yeah, I ain't going to have two women tell me I'm doing the wrong thing. So I was just like, okay, I get it. You don't want to have two women saying it's your fault.
Right.
You found a male therapist, so it's like he probably might be on my side, or I can hear a different perspective, and I have to hear two, nagging tones. Right. Now, again, that's how I choose to say it, but it doesn't come out that way. Some people are just happy to find a safe place to get it all out. So they do. In those moments of now that you're here and now that you're safe, the first thing that I talk about is, but does your wife know you're in therapy? Like, yeah, she told me to come. I'm like, great. Please let her know now that you are in therapy, there will be some changes.
Right.
This is what she wanted. Remind her that this is what she wanted. And when she starts to see the change, your therapist, I don't give a fuck if she likes it. I'm unconditionally biased to the person who is in front of me. What is your goal? Let me help you get there.
Right.
If it works for your family, amazing. Even with couples, I tell them all the time, my job is not to keep you together. My job is to help you find resolution for whatever issue you are dealing with, and hopefully the resolution can be found together. My job is not to keep you together. And if a therapist has told you that, fire that therapist. They just want your money. Let me get back to the, why we're here, the podcast. In these moments of self, the better you or the best you will show up in your life. The best you will be the best husband. It will be the best father. So working on the best you or the best mother, working on the best you will benefit whomever is connected to you. Right. It's just often to that point of being so connected to someone, the individuality kind of gets lost for a little bit. So it's my job to come in there, revive that, and then start doing a refresher. A lot of times, and most of the time, the family and the spouse enjoy the change that happens. And then there are other times where we just have to remember that there are divorce courts and you move on with your life. And your second wife is really happy and excited about who you have become, or vice versa. Or you might, live life single. But to that point of how it starts, have that real conversation of the change is going to be coming. The flip side is after the communication, I talk about, well, you're married. So sex is also communication as well. So if your wife is saying to you, go to therapy, go to couples, now tell your wife, my therapist has wanted me to let you know that as we work on different things, my sex drive will be increasing. Please be ready to do your part. You don't want to do your part? Okay, then why are you bringing him to me? Because all I got is like an hour for the next week when he's made these changes. He's next to you. Things are changing. The body is changing. And we know how testosterone works. And now I need my confirmation from you. But you mad from the argument from 2 weeks ago that told me to go to therapy and I made the change, but you holding the grudge and now we're here.
Dude, I mean, I'm not going to go into a whole lot of detail. Right. I'm not going to go into a whole lot of detail, but I would tell you, it got to a point where my wife was like, I hate Michael.
Hey.
She's like, why? What is he? What y'all talking about? Like,
that young man blacking out.
I was like, what? I was just like, look, that man said, you just what we need to do. Like, what you want me to say? But anyway, all right, I digress.
Change does not happen in a vacuum.
No, it doesn't. And you know what's funny? It's like, so I have gone through therapy with several therapists. This is the other thing I want to talk about. And one of the first, this is before he and I got an argument. I actually called him when it wasn't an argument. You just
I know you're talking about. Like, I'm already knowing.
You're just like, whatever. But damn it, I lost my train of thought. Oh, when you go down a path of self-discovery, right? And you go to a place where you think about yourself and the maturity that you want to have. And then you go see someone who typically, you talked about the fact that, you're one of few men, let alone black, in the industry. So you go into lots of women, potentially. Yeah. And I've had few that I've gone to over the years. When I saw you, were the first male that I saw as a therapist. And we had our first session and you talked about, you're like, oh, you got anxiety. And I was like, no, but I had depression. You were like, do you know how many times black women misdiagnose black men? So talk to us about that.
Yeah.
That was great. I believe my quote was maybe been like, do you know how many times, black men are misdiagnosed?
Not necessarily by black women, right?
Indeed.
No,
Indeed.
He already put you in the shit.
No. It just so happened it was all black women that I saw. So I am projecting my own personal experience.
That's what the camera is over there. I'm like, oh,
right.
Yeah. So I'm not throwing you under the bus. I'm throwing myself under the bus.
No, you backing the bus up because you did throw him under the bus.
That was him because he didn't say that. It was me projecting. Yeah, it was like, well, all these women done misdiagnosed my ass. But anyway, I'm sorry.
No. Indeed. But yes, to that component of it all, of psychology, it was not derived by us, for us. We were not in any studies, anything of that nature. Unfortunately, it wasn't until we got into criminology and things of that nature that a black experience was brought into that. And I mean, the stereotype is included. Yeah. Working on my license and becoming licensed, there are two exams you can take. You can take one of them that's more on your master's level, is about what you studied, and that's like the NCE. And then you can take one that's extremely more clinical, every diagnosis, everything the DSM-5, basically. Now, for whatever reason, I went for the challenge and I took everything the DSM-5. Long story short, when taking the exam, I paid, took a class, and I was taught take this exam as an old white man. And the instructor of that class was an old white man, telling us, especially me, because I was the only black male, that you're going to have to take the lens of African American off in order to pass this exam. Once I did that, and I'm very black. Sometimes I give a quote. I'm mixed with black and so I'm extremely black and pro-black. My first 2 times taking the exam, I failed. I just could not get past. So they literally asked me some of these questions. How would you say? And I'm like, I want to say none of this bullshit.
Right.
Let me guess. I'll guess C. And then finally, they literally told us for this next exam, we have revamped the exam to include cultural bias. After that exam, I landed in the top 10%. I was like, well, there we have it. They did what they needed to do. I've done what I need to do as best as I can. If I went through that as a therapist, imagine what the common person is going through as the client. And not just with men, especially with children and adolescents. We have all these children who are white with ADHD, but then you see the same symptoms showing up in the black community, but then they have conduct disorder, opposition, defiant disorder. No, he had to wake up at 7 a.m. and talk to you for 5 fucking hours and he didn't feel like doing that. So now you're saying that he is all these things. And he's just like, lady, just have to fuck get out my face. But when Billy came over in here, was spazzing out for 33 minutes, all this stuff, crying during that whole episode, you just categorize that as, oh, that has to be ADHD. There are a lot of cultural biases in these fields and in these levels of life that definitely come about quite often. Even the characteristics of depression and anxiety, kind of mirror each other. So having a professional who can bring in not just culture, but also gender to your diagnosis and knowing these things. I'm very big on going after the credentials of your therapist. I go after doctors all the time because you're not a psychologist doctor. You're a PhD on the education side. You're practicing therapy on your master's level license, just like me. I just decided not to waste 5 years of my life and just start charging cash at the same rate as you. Let's be very clear. When I start giving that information to clients and they start challenging people, I've noticed that not only has their experience changed, but their diagnosis has changed. They go back and do another same assessment, and those changes have come back. I equip people to even ask this question the first time that you go. Ask your doctor, did you consider a cultural bias when diagnosing me? That's not a challenge to them clinically. That's a challenge to them ethically. So it kind of puts you in that realm of, just because I might be in this moment of I'm upset and you can't read it, so you think I'm being aggressive. I'm not angry. I am depressed in this moment. But, my stature may fool you. And then, outside of that professional life, that is a person still in front of you who may not have had enough time with the culture. So now here comes a big birdie black man that they were, afraid of. And, they did their due diligence to get past it. But at the same time, it does show up.
Do I tell anybody who is considering going to see a therapist that they should go see a younger therapist because of the training and the education that happens now than what happened in the past? So we need to kind of close this out. This has been a great conversation.
Amazing. I was nervous.
It's been a while. Real quick, the producers hit me up every once in a while. Can you tell us, based on some of the things you've talked to us about, and people decide, you know what? This dude is making a whole lot of sense. Where can they find the resources to tap into your approach of therapy?
I appreciate that. Well, Psychology Today, it works like Google for therapists and psychiatrists, nurse practitioners, whoever you're looking for in the mental field. You can screen out, just like you do in a Google search, what you're looking for, the diagnosis that you may have, medication that you might need. Well, not the medication component of it all, but the provider level of medication. You can pinpoint what you're looking for, and anywhere in that state or area, you will find the therapist as best as they can. So Psychology Today is definitely a great source to look at. You can find me at thenestwc.com. I'm clinical director there. I'm going to also give a special shout out to some of my students who may be watching this at Morris Brown College. Your college might be a great place for you to start. I may not be there, but someone like me will definitely be there. There are therapists, there are counselors there as well. So you can definitely get started there. And then anywhere in America, if you find yourself in crisis, 988. A lot of times people think that's just a suicide hotline. It is not. If you have a panic attack, 988. If you're now just frustrated and just need a moment, 988, and that will put you with a licensed therapist who can help you in that moment. In Georgia, you can call Georgia Crisis. You can Google that GCAL. I don't want to give the wrong number without having my phone in front of me, but you can Google that, and a licensed therapist will come to you at that location where you are. So the resources are 100% there. We just, as a Black people, as a culture, we have to get to the point of prayer is great, but pray for the right therapist as you go. As you go, and be willing to seek the help that you know that you definitely you need. I have a saying too for myself: every good therapist has a good therapist. So I go as well. So we gotta do what we have to do for ourselves. That's how we self-preserve.
Yes, sir.
Well, brother, thank you so much for being on the show. We really appreciate you taking time out of your busy schedule. I know you got a lot going on. One thing I did want to talk about before we wrap up is suicide prevention.
Okay, cool.
Right? I wanted to make sure that you got an opportunity to talk about that. I know you got a lot going on around that.
So my reaction was with the okay, cool. I was like, okay. No letters from the past.
No
okay,
letters
great.
from the past.
Like
No
your
letters
cousin
from
from
the
the fifth grade.
past.
I'm like,
No,
oh God, they got me. They got
No,
me.
I'm not doing that.
Man, suicide prevention. Wow. Whew. So I just gave a talk last week. Suicide in African Americans in the state of Georgia is on the uptick by 40% from 2 years ago. Georgia is already above the national average for suicide. What's interesting is that the Caucasian or white suicide rate is actually decreasing, while the Black and African American rate is increasing. And back in our day, that was a white thing. We weren't doing that. So it starts with conversations. It starts with education. I know I mentioned 988. It even got to the point where now, if you don't want to talk to a therapist, you want to text one, you can text 741-741 and just have a text conversation with a therapist. It's all around us. Just being Black, when we get to the eternal damnation of suicide and going to hell and all these other things from church, my biggest fights are with pastors. My biggest fights are with the pulpit. Believe it or not, even with my profanity, I have given a sermon or 3, but I'll never be a pastor.
Right.
Okay, pastor, you took 1 or 2 classes. That is amazing, but you know what you still are not? A therapist. Please lead your congregation to your community resources to come in and help your congregation and help your church. That's why I mentioned pray for the therapist that you need as you go to them, as opposed to God will take it away. I'm like, but he gave us free will. So which one is it? It's interesting when it's your action and it's your situation. Now God has to take it. Let me get back.
Trust me,
be on the same page.
Yeah.
But I'll leave you with this. When I was suicidal, I was at the point of a prayer. If you don't show up for me in oh God, real quiet. I'll keep going though. If you don't show up now, I'm going to kill myself. My phone rang instantly. The pastor from when I was 8 years old called me, and he was in Alabama. He's like, Mike, the Holy Spirit told me to call you and let you know God has a purpose and a plan for your life. That's not the part that's like that's the message. The O part was literally after he hung up, moments later, he died of a heart attack.
Wow.
I was literally the last call that he made. He didn't give a sermon. He didn't give a revival. He called, I'm going to be very real, he called a nigga in Chicago, not concerned about shit else.
Right.
And that was his last assignment. So for me, I'm like, okay, God thought enough of me to do something with my life. I don't want to be a therapist. I want to be a lawyer. When I get paid, sometimes I'm like, God damn, I should have been a lawyer. But this is the field that he has me in. So I'm going to do my due diligence, and that's why I don't mind doing conversations like that. But I know what it's like to be in that low place. And if I didn't go see a therapist, if I didn't seek things out, if I didn't have parents who didn't believe me when I'm like, this is what I'm going through, this is what I'm facing, it definitely been a hard struggle, a hard road up. So if someone is saying like they need help or something and they're down, believe them. Let's start with that. If you know someone's not okay, believe them when they're saying that they're not okay. Even ask the question, are you okay? Nah. Will you be okay?
Right.
Yeah, I already got you. So if you're going to be okay, then bro, what's wrong? Do that. But have those real conversations, believe them. And if you know that like it's bothering you to even observe somebody in that moment, it's then your job, if you love them and be as a friend, to go after them, annoy the hell out of them. I'd rather them be alive and you annoy them than you're beating yourself up because now we're here.
Push.
All of that. And I'll take it a step further. even just with school life and organizations and things of that nature. I am now helping put together suicide prevention things for the state in the state of Georgia for my fraternity, Alpha Phi Alpha Fraternity Incorporated, the best fraternity in the world. You know, it's like one of these notions of things happen and then it happens to us, and it's just like, okay, we already have this here. How can we intensify it? How can we make it grow? There are so many partners. Your county district, it depends on where you are. That's I'm struggling with the word, but different county agencies are here to help. They just don't know because you have not reached out to them. They would love to come to a health fair at your church. They would love to come partner with your fraternity or your sorority. We just have to get it out there, get over ourselves, and break the code of silence of what happens in our meetings, stay in our meetings. We don't have to give them everything, but at the same time, we can do these things for the community and for ourselves before it is too late.
Yeah.
Before we joined these organizations or got involved with communities, we were individuals and we were people. When we lose sight of that, it will become so much easier to keep losing people. Black people, we are now saying that suicide's not just a white thing, but it's a thing. And now is our time to turn it around. Otherwise, I'm not making up the numbers. Like, it's going to keep increasing. If we keep being delusional by real things, we can't get mad when all of a sudden we're looking like the insane ones because we're not believing what's right here in front of us.
Yeah.
So again, all these things are around us. It's just a matter of tapping in and being okay with it. It's here for a reason. It's here to help you. Please get the help that you need while you're alive to get it. And I will leave you with this last component of it all. I said this in my master's class, not knowing that one of my professors just lost a parent to suicide. To whoever may have dealt with somebody and you're struggling with this, you never know what took place between the time of action, whatever it was, pills, that, or the third. You have no idea what took place between that person from the time of action and the cause of consequence. I'm putting that out there for my Christian population, meaning if there's space for hope, have it. I can get caught up in a situation and be like, oh, dang, but I can't change anything about it now because it's already in me. The things I've already took is about to happen. So, I'm just big on hope and belief. So if I'm thinking this and I'm believing this, then, how can that devil win? I won't let him. I'll have my thought. I'll have my own freedoms and I'll keep walking in it. Hopefully that did something for somebody, and we'll collect an offering right after this.
If you're considering suicide, we're going to put up some resources for you on the screen for you to reach out. And with that, we're out.